a nice upper back rinse, we're going to come down onto our back with the foam roller about at your shoulder blades. I, for one, am looking forward to this little snack crackle pop this morning. This nice big stretch. So foam roller starts about the bottom of your shoulder blades. And I like to sometimes just reach one arm forward, feel that I'm about there, almost like at the bra line. Hands come behind the head. And then enjoy, just a nice big morning stretch up and over that foam roller. Maybe your head cradles or touches the mat. And you're okay if it hangs just a little bit and you want to reach your arms lengthwise towards the wall behind you. Oof. And just kind of move. I'm shearing right and left just a little bit, kind of like I'm a puppet on strings. Oh, then I'm going to cradle my head back in my hands and I'm going to pivot and lift myself back up. And we're going to go like that just a couple more times. I'm not going to make it as big as I progress, so it's going to be just a little smaller. And my inhale thinks about expanding the front of my ribs and my chest. And that exhale, I think about flexing through the spine into the foam roller. Inhale and exhale. Try to quiet your shoulders. Your shoulders may want to help you with this exercise. I want you to try to think they're soft, melting towards your back pockets. Exhale, pivot. Now stay lifted a little bit, kind of like your body's in like a board or a plank. And now you're going to rock a little right to left. So a little shearing right to left, massaging still into the back. Last two. And last one. Let's go ahead and now push into our heels to lift our bottom. And we're going to make little movements up and down on the foam roller. Up and down. So I'm not into a full stroke yet. It's staying a little small as I kind of work through some kinks in my back, some tightness. Whew. Now I'm going to settle my hips all the way back down to where I started, and I'm going to take an easy breath. And I'm going to visualize that I could send my breath down into the foam roller behind me, feeling my ribs expand laterally, and then exhale completely. Walk your foam roller up an inch, your bottom will come down an inch. Yep, there you go. Good, and then again, lengthen up and over, taking a nice big stretch, and then pivot. So as the foam roller comes up, I find it a little easier to extend the spine. It's not quite as of a harsh arch. It's a little softer, but it's a little different to flex through the spine. Let's do once more like that. Inhaling to expand and exhaling. We come back to that side to side, back and forth, almost like you've got an itch right between your shoulder blades and you're using the foam roller to try to relieve it. Last two. Elbows are in the corners of your eyes, right? They're in your periphery. And then through center, we push through our heels to lift and then a little bit up and down again. Up and down. Whew. So I'm staying just about like 2 to 3 inches in the same area on my back. Working our hamstrings just a little bit here. Let's go ahead and set that pelvis down. Yet again, we're going to breathe and we're going to think about sending the breath back into the body. And exhale completely. Last time here, we're going to roll the foam roller up 1 more inch. The bottom comes down another inch. So now the foam roller is quite high on your shoulders. And that lift through your heart, you feel it a little bit maybe more predominantly from the cervical spine to your upper thoracic. And then pivot and come back up. Inhale and exhale. Your head is heavy in your hands. Try not to lead from your neck or your jaw. Last one here, we're going to pivot, stay lifted, we're going to go back to that right to left. Kneading your back into the foam roller, massaging the shoulder blades into the foam roller. Last one, we're going to come back through center. Now we're going to find our full rinse. That means you're going to go from the top of your shoulders all the way to the bottom of your ribs. Pushing into the heels, slide that foam roller all the way down your back, and then pull it all the way back up. Visualize your body as that plank again. It's relatively like the same line you're drawing up and down. It's not, you're not a worm, it's not a wave. You might work your way off your mat. We're going to do just a few more strokes. up and down. I like to exhale as I push. And last one. And then carefully set your bottom down, curl yourself all the way back up, kind of wiggle it out for a minute. Whew. We're going to move right into our bottom next. So go ahead and come to seated on the foam roller. And Jen, again, just go through a few brush strokes up and down. General blood flow to some tight areas of our body, which are usually the shoulders, the hips, the low back. Those are where we're going to focus on. I'm going to turn towards you just a little bit as I continue to roll up and down on my left side. A little bit of massage through the outside of my left hip. You can stay up on your arm if you'd like, or maybe you come down onto your elbow and crisscross your left foot over your right knee. I like to make this a big brush stroke. Maybe for you, it's a smaller one. I'm going to continue to turn towards you as I lay now on my left side, and my left greater trochanter, or the outside of my hip, is into the foam roller now. I am stacked, so I am parallel through my leg and my pelvis and my shoulders. I'm going to start to bend my left knee, roll my bottom back a little bit as I move into more of an external rotation in my hip. So now I'm rolling that foam roller, and I feel it a little bit more in the dimple of my left glute. It's going up towards the top of my pelvis. Then I'm going to push, square my pelvis, and it's back down towards the outside of my hip. So a little external rotation, and then a little parallel, pressing it back down the side of my hip. Again, focus on those areas of tension in our hips, upper back, and our lower back. Just a few more like this. And last one. We're going to continue to roll all the way through center. Let's adjust for just a moment, bringing that foam roller about the middle of our thighs. Coming down onto your elbows. That foam roller is going to start just about the middle of your thighs, and check in with your elbows real quick. Just make sure that your elbows and your shoulders are in line, all right? That's a good starting position. Then start to push and pull through the elbows, through the forearms. You can start to make this bigger if you'd like. So thinking about going from the top of your knees to the eye of your hip crease. You can start to play with an external rotation, or maybe an internal rotation. You can also play with pulling, stop, bend, extend, and push. Pull, stop, bend, extend, and push. Just that little back and forth. I, as you may be able to tell, am moving from that parallel to an internal rotation and an external rotation. So I'm kind of trying to get all the surface area of my quads. Let's do just twice more. Wherever you're at, then gently slide yourself back so that now the foam roller is in the eye of your hip crease. It's not quite on your bladder, and it's not quite on your pubic bone. You're going to lay your body down. Let your elbows feel soft. Wrap your body around the foam roller, and take a couple easy breaths. Inhaling wide into the ribs, deep into the back of your lungs. And exhale completely. Let's do that once more. Inhaling. And exhale completely. Letting that go. Gently start to pick yourself back up. I'm going to bend at my knees, shift my weight back. Whew. It's like a breath of fresh air into my hips. We're going to move now into that right side. So I'm going to step over the foam roller, and I'm going to turn a little bit towards you as I roll up and down on the right side of my hip. Oh, and I have a little bit of a knot right there. Right there, I feel my right glute today, a little different than my left. Whew. Sides are always different. You can come down onto that elbow if you'd like, and maybe start to move into your figure four. A little pushing and pulling. Again, I'm kind of making big brush strokes here, taking from the bottom of my sit bone all the way up to the top of my pelvis. Let's just do two more. We're going to turn to face towards each other now. That right leg will lengthen. turning, so we lift. So we're starting with the foam roller kind of low, sort of almost like the width of your hips on the outside of that right greater trochanter. As you bend the knee, you're going to let that leg externally rotate, and you're going to kind of open your pelvis towards the ceiling, which is going to push that foam roller up the pelvis into the external rotators, and then press it back to the side. Open and bend, then push and straighten. Open and bend, and push and straighten. Let's do just 2 more here. Trying to breathe comfortably, right? It might be a little bit tight. Hopefully not overworking that shoulder. It's there to support you. And then gently, let's go ahead and now press ourselves all the way up. So we did our quads on the flip side. Now we're going to hit our hamstrings. So shift the body weight back so that your bottom is actually on the back side of your foam roller. And then maybe just start to flex and point here. One thing I kind of like about this exercise is it is core support. You're trying to keep yourself upright. You may feel a little like imbalanced here. You're starting to pitch your weight forward just a little bit too to help deepen that hamstring connection. At the same time that you sort of feel like your bottom is falling behind you. So you're starting to get a little bit of an up and over sensation, right? Keeping yourself on that foam roller. As you start to melt forward, I'm going to hold on to my ankles. This feels good for me. Maybe you're more at your calves. Maybe this is where you want to stop. I'm going to kind of continue to flex and point. Sort of working the foam roller towards the back of my knees. Oof, I'm not going to get all the way there. Maybe let's take a moment and hold. And just visualize that C curve in your spine. We're getting into our low back a little bit here, that tension, that sense of compression we feel, that gravity is pushing down on us all day. So use your breath, just like we found earlier, as though you're going to send it back into your ribs. And then use your exhale to think a little bit like you're going to scoop your tummy off of your quads. Let's do once more like that. Hold on to that C curve. Exhale, lift your tummy. Get a stretch. Gently start to bring your hands back behind you. We're going to move big brush strokes now, as long as your shoulders feel okay. Pushing and pulling, and pushing and pulling. I like to see my thighs like spread out on top of the foam roller as I push, sliding the foam roller up and down. And last one, gently kind of set your bottom down. That foam roller is going to roll away from you as you bring yourself back to the middle of your mat, and then gently start to lay yourself down. So now we're going to get into our low back, which also can feel super tight and compressed because of sitting, walking. Gravity is always pushing down on you, right? So we're kind of going to do an inversion, the flip, all right? So gravity is now going to push the other way. So our head is going to be lower than our pelvis and our feet. The pelvis sits on top of the foam roller as though you've sort of placed it on a shelf, right? And then go ahead and bring your legs to tabletop position. So you can stay here and just maybe rest for a moment. It's a really nice, easy, passive stretch. Or if you wanted, you could even kick your legs up towards the ceiling. My pelvis turned just ever so slightly, and I'm okay with that because I'm helping to stretch my low back just a little bit, right? Now in this position, maybe we do that hamstring stretch again. Guess what? We just flipped that forward fold, right? So let the legs start to fall back towards you, and you're right back at that forward hamstring stretch we just did. Except now, let's breathe a little bit and use the mat underneath us to feel as though we're expanding into the back of our ribs. So I'm going to visualize like a pool of water, like on an inhale, it's spreading out, expanding wide into the sides of my ribs. And on that exhale, I'm yet again going to try to pull my tummy away from the quads. Just a little bit of that scoop. Inhale. And exhale. Real quick, look at your toes. Just make sure is one of your legs longer than the other. Try to pull that too long of leg back down into the pelvis or back down into the foam roller underneath you so your pelvis feels even on the foam roller. Last inhale and exhale. Gently bend at the knees. Take a moment to kind of soften that stretch, kind of letting it go. I'm going to move through knee stirs next. So this is me rotating the femurs in the hip socket. I'm opening my knees out, around, and then back together. And last one. Bringing your hands onto the foam roller. You can hold the sides, you can reach your arms over the top, whatever feels best for you. As we shift our weight over towards the right, just a little bit, you're heavy into the right side of your pelvis. And we're gonna start to make circles. Think about scooping the knees towards your nose every time you exhale. Just a little bit of a tuck, okay? Like a scoop and release. Scoop and release. Scoop and release. Let's do twice more. And last one, bring it up through center, shifting it over to the left, same thing, little scoop and release, scoop and release. Now again, we're kneading the back of our pelvis, the area that can get really tight from all that stress throughout our day, gravity pushing down on us, maybe even the way you sleep. Last one. Gently bring that back up through center. Feet are going to come down onto the mat. Lifting your hips up, roll the foam roller out from underneath you, slowly, like a bridge. Articulate your spine all the way back down. And visualize your low back is long and soft on the mat. Take just a moment, and in this position, let's just see how we feel against the floor underneath us. Hopefully, like you're laying on a soft, like, mattress, right? No rocky mountains, no pebbles, no, like, bramble underneath you. Think of it as a soft, mossy forest floor. We're going to lengthen the legs out. I'm going to make you work just to pick yourself up, working through our spine. We're going to push down into that foam roller, reaching the arms up. Here's your inhale. Exhale, we're going to nod the chin to the chest, push energy down into the legs, curl the wheel of your pelvis. Here's your scoop again. Here's your forward fold, lifting up and over and stretch. Lengthen that low back. And gently pick yourself up. All right, so come back to kneeling if that's okay for you. So you can control how much pressure, how much weight you want into the foam roller as we move from our wrists kind of up to our elbow. So if you're comfortable seated, you could just bring your arms over and just start to kind of roll. So I like to sometimes play with the direction that my hand is as well, right? So maybe the palms go up, roll a little bit up and down that way. Maybe the palms go down. If you'd like to add more weight, this is where you can control the, the depth of the release. Bringing your body weight off of your heels, you're basically kind of pushing now into the foam roller as you roll back and forth. Another good one, but it does get a little bit intense, is to wrap your hand around the foam roller, start to push down into the mat, and then start to shift your weight back to open up the inside of your wrist. It can be a little bit tight. Last one. I'm trying to spread my fingers and flex them against the mat. And then gently kind of pull yourself back. Take a little release. So we're going to come to seated facing towards each other. As we finish with just a little bit of some neck release, which unfortunately I feel like I don't really need to strengthen your neck because it probably flexes a lot during the day, right? All that stress in our jaw and our neck. So now I want to think, how do I soften it? How do I open it up? I like to bring my hands behind the foam roller, and now we're going to cup the foam roller as though you could like slide your fingertips underneath it. And just for a moment, see if that helps to stretch. Open your collarbones and your neck, right? Kind of rolling those shoulders back and down. I'm going to come back to the sense that when I inhale, I'm expanding my ribs into the sides of my arms. I just realized I was leaning forward a little bit, so I'm going to shift my weight back as though I'm really seated on the foam roller. My head is in line with my shoulders, which is in line with my hips. Now your hands are going to stay back so that your shoulders stay back as you turn just through your cervical spine towards the right. Use that inhale to expand through the width of your ribs and your collarbone, and then exhale back to center, over to the left. Keeping that right shoulder behind. Ooh, I was just clenching in my left hip. I don't know why. Back and forth, trying to relax the body, right? Now we actually want gravity to help keep us stacked. Just that little rotation back and forth. Back through center. Now we're going to listen to our shoulder with our right ear. That left shoulder stays heavy behind us and beside us. Start to drip the neck forward or the head down, stretching the back of the neck over to the left. Oh, very different on that side. Down through center. You're holding that bone roller so your shoulders are anchored. Try to relax the hips. Let's do that once more. Finishing, make sure it's a full circle for me, right? Try not to baby one side, but get that nice full stretch. You're going to drop your head down through center, then slowly start to bring yourself back, then up, and back, then up. Letting go of that foam roller. Let's take a nice big inhale. And use that exhale, press all the air out as you spiral those arms back beside you. Let's do that once more. Kind of like that snow angel. Feel like you're expanding wide into the ribs, deep into the back of your lungs. Exhale all of it out. Thank you so much. That's class.